Logical statements and operators. The last video was a little lengthy, so I'm going to try to make this one streamlined and maybe just explain a little bit less, and then you can research things on your own, and we'll see how that works. What we're going to be doing is making it so that when people click on the page, we're going to test to see if they're clicking around where this bone is, and then if they are, this jaw is going to open. And if there's enough time, maybe we'll make it open and then slowly close shut. A little bit of animation in there. So, no further ado. There is a function that is built in to P5 called mouse pressed. And it's, sort of like function setup, function draw, function mouse pressed. So, function mouse pressed. And let's see what it does. Well, firstly, I just wrote that right underneath setup and draw, but above all the other functions that I wrote. It's the quick place to see and access it. So function mouse pressed, how do we know it's working? Why don't we console.log, a little note to self. Mouse meet, beep. Okay, so now we run this. Let's see, if we click, yep, they're in the console, mouse beep, 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 beep. So every time the mouse is pressed, it's going to call the code that is inside this function mouse pressed. Or it's going to call this function, which will then execute the code that's inside it. So now we want to test if when the mouse is being pressed, if it is being pressed in the vicinity of this bone. So where is this bone? Let's go up to this draw bone, and I think it's the second bone. Just test. I'm going to comment out that line, and I did that with the keyboard shortcut Command or Control / and now I'm going to run it with the keyboard shortcut Command Enter. Yep. So that was indeed the bone from that line. And this bone is being drawn at the location of 60% and 20% of the height, and so the center point right here. And it's also being rotated a wee bit. Why don't we make our clickable spot be like a really big range to make it easy on us? So, function, mouse pressed. In pseudocode, what we're doing is saying if the position of the mouse is inside this region, then do this. So we know the mouse is being pressed. Now we're going to check to see if the position of it when it's pressed is inside this region. So the syntax for if statements, if, and then in parentheses, what you're testing. And then if that is true, then it will execute. Ugh, it's so annoying. Whenever you go to tidy up the code, it'll bounce you to the top. Okay, just kidding. I love you, P5 web editor. Okay, so if the position of the mouse is inside the region, so this in here, we're going to test this condition if the position of the mouse is inside the region. So the mouse is being clicked. We have those built-in variables, mouse X and mouse Y. So if mouse X, what is this region again? Width times, so width times 0.6 is about here. So let's say this is about, why don't we draw a rectangle to figure out what the region should be? Good idea, because we're going to test to see if it's in a region, but kind of just guessing at things right now. Why don't we just draw something that might be able to help us? And so this rectangle mode, we had made it around center. Whoa, I'm just getting ahead of myself. So let's go rectangle width, height, and let's see what would happen if we make this rectangle have a width of width times, I'm just pulling up, so I'm tired. Okay, and I'm going to make it a little bigger because it's always better to have your buttons be bigger than what they are. You know, it's like colliders in games. You never want your collider to be too big and then someone dies and they're like, I didn't hit you, but you know, you kind of might have. Width, height times 0.05. Okay, this is really close enough. I'm fiddling. I'm trying to make a quick video. Okay, that's a big region. That's a big region. If people click anywhere on this region, then this mouse is going to go great. So I'm just going to make note of this code, and well, we can still see it good here. So if mouse X, so where is mouse X? We want mouse X to be from bigger, we want it to be larger than this starting point and going to the right. So that starting point is width times 0.4. So if mouse X is greater than width times 0.4, then we'll do our console.log mouse deep in here. Okay, so let's see. If we're clicking over here, nothing happens. But now, if we're clicking and the mouse is greater than this, yep, mouse is in here. The mouse is in here. Wonderful. So we have just checked to see if the mouse is inside the first range of this. Oh my gosh, I'm already at 8 minutes. I got to go faster. Okay, if the mouse is greater than mouse width times 0.4, wonderful. Now we also have to check if the mouse is less than this other side, because we want to make sure that it's actually inside this area. So if the mouse X is greater than the width and, ooh, what's going on here? And mouse X is less than the, so this is width times 0.4, so width times 0.4, width times 0.4, so that's width times 0.8. Okay, so these double ands, what is going on here? These double ands mean that in this if statement, we're testing for both this and this. They both have to be true. Not one or the other, they both have to be true. What is it? Leading decimal point can be confused with a dot. I think it wants me to just put a 0 in front of all these decimal points, and then that error will go away. Okay, thank you, P5 Web Editor. So now we're testing for both of these. If we run this, so nothing should come up when we're on this side, and on this side, nothing should come up. But when we click in the middle, are you ready for it? Yes, the mouse beeps in there. And the thing is, it's also going to beep down here because we haven't set any bounds for the Y yet. So we need the mouse to be greater than this, the mouse X to be greater than this, the mouse X to be less than this. Now we need the mouse Y to be greater than this and then less than this. So, and the double ands again, we want the mouse Y to be greater than height times 0.05, and we want the mouse Y to be less than height times 0.35. I think that'll do it. Okay, and now running it. So now if we click down here, nothing, ready for the master click? Yes! And if we click up here, nothing, wonderful. So now we have this zone. And we don't need to see this rectangle anymore. Ooh, here's another keyboard shortcut. If you hit Command or Control L, that will highlight a whole line. Makes it easy to delete. And then one thing that I'm going to do is tidy up this code with Shift Tab, even though it's going to bounce us to the top, which is annoying. And it looks like this is just running over. So it kind of looks like it's messing up our indentation, but it's just because this line is wrapping around. Okay, so now we have it checked to make sure it's happening in here. Yep, and it's still just beeping when we're around this dog bone. Now we want something to happen. When we click here, we want the rotation of this jaw to move. So if we want it to move and stay in one place, we're going to need to maybe store that rotation in a variable. We look right here, draw the top jaw. Here is the rotation for it. Well, let's create a variable for this rotation that we can see in the global scope. So all these different functions can see this variable that we're going to draw or create. And in order to do that, we put it at the top of our code. So let angle jaw, and let it start at 0, equals 0. So that's what it was down here. And so we can just replace this 0 with angle jaw. Now, if the mouse is pressed, we'll just change the value of angle jaw. And I'm going to keep that console log in there just so we know. So now mouse is pressed, angle jaw equals 15. Now we click here. All right. And actually maybe negative 15. Looks a little sad. Yeah. Cool. Okay. What if we, let me try to think of some other ways to show you the essentials of what you need to do really quick. Okay. Got some ideas. Okay, firstly, I'm going to run this again. When you click on this bone once, it opens, but then nothing else happens. I kind of want it to, like, each time you click, this starts to bark a little. So I'm going to start this angle jaw at 10. Let's say this. It starts off a little sad. And then when you press the mouse inside that region, instead of the angle jaw going to negative 15, how about the angle jaw just goes to negative angle jaw? So it starts at 10, and then if you click in here, it becomes positive 10, negative 10, positive 10, negative 10, positive 10, negative 10, positive 10, negative 10. Roar. Okay, now what happens if you're clicking somewhere else on the page? So these if statements can be chained together, and the ways that this looks is you'll have if testing 1 condition, condition 1. If that is true, and you know this is just pseudocode here, and if that is true, then do this. Now and that code block ends here, so do this within that block of code. And if that is not true, else if condition 2, then do this. And if that's not true, else if condition 3. So you can like loop together or link together a whole bunch of these different if statements, and it's going to test for this one. If that's not true, it's going to go and test the next one. If that's not true, it's going to go and test the next one. And at the very end, if nothing else is true, you can else. This is like the catch-all. It will do this. And you don't need to end with else or have multiple else ifs, but this is how you can chain them together. So else if we have our condition 1 up there, I'm just going to delete that. So now let's have an else if. Else if, how about else if the mouse is either at this side or at this side, just in a vertical strip. So that would be else if mouse X is less than here. is less than, let's call this width times 0.2, or it is larger than width times 0.8. So when we strung two things together as and, we use these double amperands. Now for or, you can use these two pipes. That is an or statement. Or mouse x is greater than width times 0.8. And if that's the case, then let's just do something wild, like wild. What could be so wild? What could be so wild? Let's draw a circle in the middle of everything. In the middle of everything. And let's make it big. Okay, so let's see if this works. So if we click around the bone, it barks. So now if we click here, it's not working. What about over here? Oh, it's not working. Let's see what's going on here. Mouse x is less than 2. Circle. This is how you draw a circle. Let's see. Let's just do a console.log in here. Make sure it's not something wrong with that circle function. Oh, so it's something with the circle function. What is wrong with it? How is the syntax not right? I forget. Is it circ? Do you draw a circle with circ? Oh, so this circle is getting drawn, but only in one frame. Because this is happening as a one-time execution. The mouse is getting clicked. Bam, it's getting clicked. It is not creating something that is being drawn over and over and over and over again in each frame. So the way that you would do that is set up some kind of variable that's checking the state, like is this circle being drawn, yes or no. And then right here, you would switch that Boolean, that's a true or false variable, to be true, and then to draw the circle. And this is actually a great thing to finish it off with, because then we can get into Booleans a little bit. So let's create a variable. And I'm going to call it BAM, yes, because BAM is going to be the state where the circle comes in there. It's just like BAM. So let BAM, yes, equal false. So false, when you assign a variable the value of false, it understands that you're creating a true or false statement. That's called a Boolean. So BAM's yes starts as false. So down here, instead of just drawing the circle in this one wee frame, we're going to have it say BAM yes equals true. Now, in our draw loop, we're going to have a little test to see if BAM yes equals true, then that's good to always finish your curly bracket so you don't forget right there. Then draw this circle. Now there's something wrong here. Let's see what happens if we try to run it. Okay, so BAM yes is not true. I'm pretty sure we declared it as false, but here this got triggered. So the reason it got triggered is that this syntax is wrong. When you are testing to see if something equals something else, then you need to use 2 or even 3 equal signs. We'll just use 2. So this checks to see if something is equal. When you use just 1 equal sign, that's when you're assigning value. So like up here, BAM yes is false. But if you're checking to see if BAM yes is true, then you would need 2. So that doesn't run. And now, with luck, if we click in here, bam, yes will be true, and then this will get drawn in the draw loop. Are you ready? Yes. Bam. Okay. Now, some other things to note. When you're working with Booleans, we just changed this to be true once. Where did that go? Here. So if you are clicking with your mouse either at this edge of the screen or at this far edge of the screen, and we use the double pipes to make it an or statement, then bam yes equals true. But that makes it so you can only click once, just bam once. What if you can bam and unbam, bam and unbam? So what we want to do is similar to what we did right here, where if you click on the in this region, it's going to toggle this jaw. So from negative to positive value. In this case, we want to toggle bam yes from true or false. To do that, you can use the exclamation point, bam yes. So this exclamation point is saying not. So this is checking, or it's saying to make it what it's not. And it works for true or false things. So if bam yes is true, then not bam yes would be false, and then this would become false. If bam yes was false, then not bam yes would be true, and then bam yes would then be updated to be false. We'll probably do an exercise in class about how to work through these logical operators. So more on that. If you're confused, don't worry. We'll explore this more in class. But let's just make sure this works. Okay. But if I stray too far and click off the screen, bam. Oh, but I can unban. Whew. Phew, I can unban. Okay. So there we go. Now there's a lot more to cover as far as logical statements and operators. I feel like this is a good start. Have your facer thing, just do different stuff when you click at different parts of the screen, and we'll cover animations later. Super exciting, wonderful. Thank you.